Hey everyone, I'm Skylar. In this video, we're going to look at placing support modifier cubes and think a bit about when you might want to use those support modifiers. So let me just get Rapidia Cura open here and we can jump in. So I've got part open here, and first thing we see is it is tiny. So that's a problem that you might encounter. It's just a units issue almost all the time. So we just want to scale that from inches to millimeters. So 100% times 25.4, that's 2540. There we go. That's the part we want to look at. And if you kind of look around here, you'll see everywhere red that's showing up red is an overhang steeper than 45 degrees. So those are the areas that will need support. If we just slice this using our metal support profile, you'll see that there's some issues with just going with the defaults. So let's look at preview. And you can see all the metal support is generated. And if we look down through the layers of the part, you'll see that I think right around here, you'll see that this support over here in that hole and here are all connected, which means it'll be impossible to get them out. So we need to modify the support in that region to break it up into multiple pieces so that once it's centered, we can just pull those pieces out. The best way to do that is to use a support modifier cube. And we'll go back to prepare. The way to use that tool is if you click on your part, then you can come over here and it says place modifier cube. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to click where I want to put it right there. I don't know if this is quite in the right spot, but fortunately, once you have it selected, you can also move it around like you can any other part. So we can slide it up out of the part, get it centered. If we want it to be a slightly different shape, we can scale it just as you would a part as well. If we can do uniform scaling and make the whole thing a little bit smaller, or if you want to make it just smaller in one dimension, you unclick the uniform scaling, and then we can make it, a little bit taller, but with that smaller X and Y. Oops, I wanted to leave that and move it around a bit, get it nicely centered there. And then we do want to get it to come down back to kind of where we had it actually. Right there. So then we've placed it where we want it, and now we have to decide what we're going to do with it. So that's this icon here, per model settings. We have four choices. Over here is normal mode, so that would just print it as if it were a part. Here is print as support. That would print it with all the rules applied to support structures. Here is modify print settings. And finally, modify support settings. So that's the one we want to do. We'll click on that, and right now it shows that you can either choose to not generate support here by checking the box, but what we want to do is we need support there for printing, but we want it to be broken up after sintering. So we're going to change from metal, extruder 1, to extruder 2, do a slice there, and now we can see at that level that it's broken up by evaporative support. So that support will evaporate through that section. We're not losing much of the sintering support. We shouldn't see sag just over such a small area. And then you'll be able to pull out those three internal structures, kind of pull straight out the direction they point for all three of them. So I'm just going to look through the part a bit more because there's a number of spots actually that are liable to have mold lock. So if you look below, you can see all the overhangs, and it's kind of hard to tell, but this edge of this overhang area is actually above this, so it kind of curves around, and it does that on both sides, which is also going to give sort of a pinching feature around this through hole, and that won't release. And then another spot you'll look is these holes, the overhang here is going to connect across to this. You can kind of see that the red overhang area connects. So if we look back at the preview of the slice, we'll be able to see these features. And if you go down here, you can see, yeah, right there, this hole, the support in there is connecting across here, and which then connects underneath all the way across to the other side. So that's for sure mold locked. And same with over here, these, it kind of wraps around, and then it's one piece. So I want to break that up, and yeah, I'll just do that right now. So I've added these support modifiers here. So I did a long skinny one across the bottom here, and then one right here, another small one. So yeah, with the slice you can see I've separated the support here so that it's not locked there, and then down at the bottom we've now broken into two pieces, which should make it much easier to get it out afterwards. So they'll just pull out on an angle. And then I want to show also, for speeding up the workflow a bit here, if I want to duplicate this one, you can see down here, these are all my volumes. So I have my original model as well as these 3 cubes I've placed. And this one I've selected is modifier cube 2. If I right click it, I can multiply it. And so I'll make one more copy. And so this will be my cube number 3. And I'll just move it over to the other side, so that can speed up making multiple modifiers. And then of course, final step, once I placed a cube, is to make sure that I've set it to extruder 2 as well. All right, there we have it. We have placed 3 cubes, 4 rather, and so one in the middle. So those 3 internal supports come out. And then down below, we have broken it up with a few pieces underneath, right at the bottom, going all the way across, and these other 2. And so that should sinter nicely with full metal support everywhere and have the pieces come out nicely.